Next, from Springfield, we first talked to Liz MORANSTELK, the executive director of the Illinois Stewardship Alliance, about the growth of Illinois' farmers markets throughout the state. We'll then talk to Rebecca OSLAND, the policy associate with the Illinois Stewardship Alliance, about Governor Rauner's recent legislation that has made it easier for people to sell their products at farmers markets. This runs about 20 minutes.
Liz Moran, thank you for joining us on the Illinois Channel. As we're here in Springfield at a farmer's market, and for those who haven't ever gone to a farmer's market, they probably vary a lot. This is one of how many would you guess across the state of Illinois? Just approximately.
Sure. Well, we think there's probably, there are probably at least 160 farmers markets. There could be many more because there are some that pop up in parking lots that aren't on any official map, but that's about how many we think there are.
And we're here, and this in Springfield happens, what, I think 2 days a week, is it?
Yeah, Illinois Stewardship Alliance operates the Old Capitol Farmers Market. We're here every Wednesday and Saturday morning from 8 till noon. And we have vendors all up and down 4th. We're at 4th and Adams in Springfield downtown. And we have up to 50 vendors, including farmers with produce, and also you can get lunch or breakfast here while you're at the market.
Now, when I was growing up, we didn't have any of these. Actually, except for, I grew up in St. Louis, they do have the Soulard Farmers Market that goes back, interestingly, to the 1700s, over 200 years. But typically you didn't have farmers markets as we do now. Why did this happen, to the extent that you know? Why did the Illinois Stewardship Alliance start this in Springfield? What's the point of it?
Yeah, so there have been, farmers markets have varied in size, but certainly have exploded in the last 10 or 15 years, where there's been a real renaissance of local food movement, where farmers who want to grow produce and to be able to make more money, they can sell direct by growing food that people want to buy to be able to make in their home, make it home for dinner or breakfast or lunch. And farmers markets are a place where we can gather and be able to market, so consumers can come to one place and get everything they need to be able to cook at home.
Is it just fruits and vegetables?
Nope. At the market we have everything from bread, desserts, pastas. What else is here?
Some meats, are they?
Yeah, sausages, and of course some of them are prepared, but a lot of stuff you can take home. And we love farmers markets because they create an opportunity both for the farmer, but also for consumers to find the most fresh, the most local food in their community. So a lot of the stuff you see here sold today was just picked yesterday.
So the farmers are here from riding a circuit, and they can make an income. And as we were talking off camera, I met some people that were saying in years past how some of these farmers, it really, maybe they weren't farmers before. Maybe they're now just vegetable farmers. But even some people who are in the corn and soybeans, which is the commercial, let's say, farming, will sell. Sometimes it might be a farmer's wife who has a couple of acres and bringing that out. And they can actually make a fair amount of money doing this. Let's talk about the alliance that you run. How long has this market been in existence, and financially, how do you perpetuate yourself?
Sure. So, Illinois Stewardship Alliance is a 40-year-old organization. We were founded originally we were really concerned about, or membership-based organization. We're based here in Springfield, and we're really concerned about the land and keeping family farmers on the land, because as stewards who take care of the land itself. And we've evolved in the last 10 years, especially to be working on the local and regional food system, because we see that as both really good for consumers and people, but also great for our economic development. And we know that keeping farmers on the land is great for the environment. It's great for farmers to be able to make a good living, and it's good for people to be able to access really great food. Illinois Stewardship Alliance has run the market for the last couple of years, but the farmers market itself it's maybe 20 years old. I think Jackie from Suttle's Garden has been selling for about 25 years, so it's got a long history in the community.
What's the season?
April through October, where that's and the height of the season the most things that are in harvest are during September, August and September, which is a great time. We worry a lot about, when school goes back in session and people get a lot busier, and the summer weekends seem to go away. We call it what we've experienced in the market is called the September slump, and we've been trying to overcome that by Illinois Stewardship Alliance is running. We call it an Eat Local Challenge, where we're asking consumers to commit in September to spend $20 a week at their local markets, and we provide materials from like what's in season and how to prepare it to a market bag, and we've got hundreds of people that have committed at least to the Central Illinois farmers markets to.
How on sustaining yourself? I presume these farmers pay something for a space.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are vendor fees that in order to carve out the space and be able to have the administration for it. But we also have some really generous sponsors, including HS St. John's Hospital is a significant contributor, and we know they care a lot about making sure that healthy food is accessible in this community.
And if somebody wants to get into this, think that might be a fun way to make some side money, do they contact you? And how do you screen, if you do screen? I don't know if you do. How do you screen based on what, as far as who can come here and sell their wares?
Yeah, so Illinois Stewardship, we partner with the Downtown Springfield Incorporated, DSI. So if a farmer or food entrepreneur was interested in selling at the Old Capitol Farmers Market, they could get in touch with either of our organizations. But one thing we want to make sure, and our market vendors here are really committed to making sure that the food is coming from local production. And so we actually provide inspections, and we have a list of sort of values, including that the producers are actually growing or producing the food themselves. And because we know that we want consumers to trust that this is a market where they're going to find real local good food from regional family farmers.
And just before we close out on this, the thing is, some people are into organic, which has its own set of criteria. Other vegetables and fruits are grown in a non-organic way. Do you care one way or another here as an organization if it's organic or not?
Well, organic, as you said, organic certification is incredibly expensive, and there are a lot of folks who grow without using sprays, but they don't get certification for it. We, as an organization, we value folks that are growing food without pesticides and sprays, and we recognize that sometimes is a necessity in order to keep your business operating. But we're really concerned about moving in the direction where all food is going to be grown in a way that is healthy both for people and for our natural resources.
And one of the things, and we're going to get into a little bit more detail about this, but occasionally, like any business, or you're a nonprofit, but still it's an economic enterprise, there's going to be regulations that may be affecting the business, and you bring it to the attention of lawmakers. In this case, the state legislature, so that, as I understand it, you could have uniformity across the state. Because what was the problem prior to some bills that were recently passed and signed by the governor?
Yeah, so look, food safety is absolutely a priority. We want people to come to the market and trust that what they're getting, especially if it's processed food, is produced safely and that isn't going to make anybody sick.
As I look around here, you seem to have a broad diversity of people coming. What kind of people do you find? Have you ever done any kind of surveys of the sorts of people that come out and use farmers market? Is there a broad diversity, and how expensive is it to buy food here versus say a grocery store?
Sure. Well, we are concerned that that food that's produced by folks that is not in the conventional market, it costs more to produce, but the value we know is better. And what we're committed to is making sure that kind of food can get in the hands of everybody that can get to the market. And so we work really hard to try to make sure that good food is affordable to everybody who comes to the market. And there is a whole variety of people that come. But one of the things we're really proud of is that this market has the technology to be able to accept SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is food stamps. And takes a lot of, it's like a credit card system. It takes a lot of technology, but we're proud that we have it here. And not only do we accept SNAP, but we're part of a program called Double Up Bucks, where we will match every single dollar that's spent. So if someone comes here to be able to buy fruits and vegetables for their family, they're going to get a lot more here at the market than they can at the grocery store, because they come to our booth here and we issue them tokens and they take them to the farmers, and they're able to get twice as much here as they would at the grocery store. And the farmers love that, because it means that they're going to get the food that they value, that they worked hard to raise, into the hands of people who really need it and really appreciate it. And it's a win-win for everybody in our community.
As Governor Rauner has recently signed bills making it easier for people to sell their products at farmers markets, we talked to Rebecca OSLAND, the policy associate at the Illinois Stewardship Alliance, and get her thoughts on the legislation.
Rebecca OSLAND with the Illinois Stewardship Alliance. Thanks for joining us. We often say at the Illinois Channel that public policy doesn't start and stop under the Capitol dome, that these bills are made to address various issues. The governor recently signed 2 bills that you were instrumental in getting passed. What was the problem that those bills were trying to address vis-a-vis food markets?
Well, the overall problem, I would say, is making sure that as many products as farmers can safely produce and sell are available to our consumers at the market. So we were facing some challenges with different regulations from county to county, as far as things like refrigeration, hand washing stations, as well as Illinois has had a cottage food law for a few years, which allows certain products to be made in home kitchens and sold. However, it was a very narrow law, and it really only allowed a few items and left a lot on the table that farmers really could be producing safely. So we wanted to add new foods to reduce food waste and give farmers that additional opportunity to sell more foods, as well as address this inconsistency from county to county. So that's how it became the 2 separate bills, even though they both deal with local food and farmers markets. It just kind of was more natural to split the issue into 2, or split the 2 issues into 2 bills.
And the governor then signed these bills into law, right? And so are they effective immediately?
No, they'll both be effective January 1st, which gives everybody time to adjust and learn what they do, and let the public health community, the inspectors, have some time to think about what these changes will be, and also give people some time to be brainstorming, coming up with creative ideas for what they want to sell next year.
So there's going to be uniformity in the regulations, right?
Right.
From one county to the next, I should say, where now there's not.
Right. So one of the bills, the Local Food Business Opportunities Act, that we worked on with Senator Kaler and Representative Anderson, that bill will create statewide consistency in rules, like I mentioned, the refrigeration and hand washing stations. Those were 2 issues that we kept hearing complaints from farmers that they had to deal with different requirements in different places, and in some places it was cost prohibitive. So those were a couple of issues to knock out this year. We do hear additional complaints about things varying that we hope to take up with the Farmers Market Task Force, which is an advisory body under the Illinois Department of Public Health. So if we can kind of pick up from where this bill made some progress and continue to work together with that Farmers Market Task Force, we hope to address issues as they arise and try to continue to create more consistency.
How do you hear from the farmers? What is the mechanism? Is it just by you visiting the farmers markets and asking for responses from the different vendors?
Well, Illinois Stewardship Alliance, we have a market manager here at the Old Capitol Farmers Market, so she really engages directly with all of the farmers and gets to hear from them and relay their concerns to me. And likewise, we have relationships with market managers in places like Champaign, up in the collar counties, and we can hear from those market managers and kind of get that top-level sense of what their markets are dealing with.
And as you look into the future and get feedback, are there other issues that you're looking to address on a forward-looking basis?
Yeah, absolutely. So the other bill that was signed into law this year was the Food Freedom Act, which is going to allow a lot more types of homemade foods cottage foods to be produced and sold. And
Cottage food meaning what?
Cottage food is made in a home kitchen, labeled that it's been made in a home kitchen. The people who produce the food have to take food safety training, so there's protections built in at that front end, and then the labels let the customers know this was not inspected, so then it's consumer choice. But that will really help our farmers be able to take, for example, vegetables that they have no way of producing into a value-added good right now, and turn it into something that they can still sell at the market, whether it's chopped frozen vegetables that are like take-home soup kits, or frozen salsas. They can certain things like pickles, fermented foods, which are totally not allowed right now, only jams, jellies, and baked goods, and dried herbs. That's all we're limited to right now. So we're already hearing from a lot of farmers creative ideas of what they're thinking of doing next year, so that they have a use for all this leftover produce. And
because everyone, who grows vegetables, not everyone, but a lot of people are canning at the end of the year to preserve their crop, and certainly the farmers might have stuff that was unsold. Maybe they can turn it into a relish or something that they can sell, right?
Yeah, there's all kinds of things that they can do now.
And that becomes effective for the 2018.
Correct. And looking forward, some of the other policy that we plan to take up will really tie into that Food Freedom Act. Last year, we passed a bill with a big coalition of health and hunger groups and other food and farming groups that created a state program that would fund the double value SNAP, the food stamps at the farmers markets, so that, for example, if I spent $50 on a SNAP card, I could get a match of $25 to spend on fruits and vegetables. That would be applicable to some of these new cottage foods, as long as there isn't salt and sugar and fat added to it. Any of these processed, frozen vegetables, you'd be able to use that matching incentive to get more fruits and vegetables, processed or unprocessed. Now, that bill passed last year. It was even unanimous in the House, but it didn't get funded, and it was mandatorily vetoed to become a pilot program. So it would expire in 2019 if we do nothing. So next year we're looking at least trying to get that extended, and then keep talking to the legislators about why it's a worthwhile investment to actually make the appropriation.
Is that, when we say a pilot program, is that going to be a pilot program statewide or in a regional area?
The rules would be written by the Department of Human Services, and they have until the end of next year, I believe, to write the rules. So we'll have to talk with them.
Pilot program?
Correct. So we're not looking at enough time to do a real pilot program, especially because it hasn't gotten the funding yet. So we'd like to try to get the program, make it permanent, but we at least need to make it extended so that it doesn't just expire unused.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.